Once upon a time, in the heart of a small village nestled between the green hills of Nigeria, lived a woman named Adanna. She was known throughout the village for her beauty, kindness, and grace. Adanna married a hard-working farmer named Ola, who loved her deeply. Their life together was peaceful, filled with laughter, love, and dreams of building a family. They lived in a modest mud house at the edge of the village, where the air was always fresh, and the sun set like a golden fireball over the horizon. For many years, Adanna and Olamide longed for children. They prayed at the village shrine, consulted the elders, and performed rituals to seek favor from the gods. Despite their efforts, Adanna was unable to conceive. The villagers whispered that perhaps the gods had forgotten them, or that Adanna's womb was cursed. Then, after years of waiting, Adanna discovered that she was finally pregnant. The news spread quickly through the village, and there was great rejoicing. Ola could not contain his joy, and the couple began to prepare for the arrival of their child. But unbeknownst to them, a dark force had already entered their home. For as long as Adanna could remember, she had always felt a strange presence around her. Sometimes, in the dead of night, she would wake up to the sound of whispers in the darkness, as though someone was calling her name. At times, she felt an invisible hand brush against her skin or a cold breath on her neck. But she never spoke of it to anyone. It was as if these things were meant to be kept secret. As her pregnancy progressed, strange events began to unfold. Adanna became restless, and her dreams were filled with disturbing images of a man who appeared to her in the moonlight. He was tall, with deep, dark eyes and a voice that seemed to echo through the night. He would speak to her in soft whispers, telling her that she was his, that she belonged to him and not to Olamide. At first, Adanna dismissed these dreams as mere fantasies, perhaps brought on by her excitement or worries about motherhood. But the strange dreams grew more frequent, and one night, as she lay in bed next to her husband, she felt the cold presence again. It was no longer a whisper. This time, the man appeared before her, standing at the foot of their bed. He was real, and his gaze locked onto hers, filled with a strange sadness. Adanna woke with a start, gasping for air. Ola stirred beside her, but she quickly pretended to be asleep. She was too afraid to speak of what she had seen. But the more she tried to ignore it, the stronger the presence became. Soon, she began to feel that she was not alone, even when she was surrounded by people. One day, as Adanna went to fetch water from the village well, an elderly woman named Ayemaranki approached her. Ayemaranki was known for her wisdom and deep knowledge of the spiritual world. She had seen many things in her long life and knew when something was wrong. The old woman looked at Adanna with a knowing gaze and said, "Child, you are carrying more than just a baby in your womb. There is another presence, a spirit that claims you as its own. You have a spiritual husband." Adanna was taken aback. She had heard of spiritual husbands before, but she never believed them to be real. Ayemaranki continued, "This spirit is jealous, and it will do whatever it takes to keep you from your earthly husband. It will feed on your fear, and if you do not act quickly, it will take away the life of the child you carry." Adanna's heart sank. She returned home, her mind racing with the words of the old woman. That night, as she lay beside Ola, she felt the presence again, stronger than ever before. The spiritual husband appeared, his eyes glowing with an eerie light. He whispered in her ear, "You will never leave me. You belong to me, and no one can take you from me." Adanna was terrified. She knew she had to do something, but she didn't know what. The next day, she sought the guidance of the village elders, who performed a cleansing ritual. They offered prayers and sacrifices to the gods, hoping to break the bond between Adanna and her spiritual husband. But despite their efforts, the spirit remained. As the days passed, Adanna's pregnancy grew more complicated. She felt weak and drained, as though something was draining her life force. The baby inside her did not move as it should, and she began to fear for its safety. Desperation filled her heart, and she prayed every night for the strength to protect her unborn child. One evening, as Adanna sat alone by the fire, Ayemaranki appeared once again. The old woman sat beside her and said, Adanna, you must confront the spirit directly. You must let it know that you belong to the earth, to your husband, and to the child you carry. Only then will you be free. The next night, Adanna made her way to the forest, where the spiritual husband often appeared to her in her dreams. She walked deep into the woods, determined to face him once and for all. There, in the clearing by the ancient tree, he appeared to her, his form dark and shadowy, his eyes glowing like embers. I have come to set you free, Adanna said, her voice trembling but filled with resolve. You cannot claim me anymore. I am not yours. I belong to my husband, to my child, and to the land of the living. The spirit let out a growl, his form swirling in the air like smoke. You cannot escape me. I will never let you go. Adanna took a deep breath, holding the amulet Ayamaranki had given her tightly in her hand. I reject you. I choose my family. I choose life. At that moment, the spirit let out a deafening scream, and the ground shook beneath Adanna's feet. The shadows around her swirled, and for a brief moment, she saw the face of the spirit, a man who was once human, filled with sorrow and anger. Then, with a final wail, he vanished into the night, leaving Adanna standing alone in the clearing. The next morning, Adanna returned home, feeling lighter than she had in months. The oppressive presence was gone, and for the first time in a long while, she felt at peace. Her pregnancy began to progress normally, and the child she carried grew healthy and strong. When the time came, Adanna gave birth to a beautiful baby boy, a child who would grow to bring joy to the village. Ola was overjoyed, and the couple raised their son with love, never speaking of the dark time that had nearly torn their family apart. But deep in the heart of the forest, the spirit of the spiritual husband lingered, watching from afar, forever bound to the shadows. And though Adanna had freed herself, she would always remember the lesson she had learned, that love, faith, and courage could overcome even the darkest forces. And so, in the village of Adanna and Ola, peace returned, and the story of the spiritual husband was told as a warning to all who heard it, a reminder that no matter how powerful the unseen forces may be, the strength of the human spirit will always triumph in the end.